Today is part 2 of a 5-part series. Today we're going to talk about rote counting. Rote counting seems very simple and very basic, but we need to be rote counting not just by 1s and 2s, but also by 3s and 4s. Because it's through skip counting or rote counting by these numbers we learn our multiplication facts. So we're going to talk about how do we connect it to our real world, what are some activities you can do that are fun at home for you to use with your child. So let's get started. The first thing I always like to think about is, so what does come in 3s? So as you brainstorm that with your child, you might be thinking about what comes in 3s. I can think of tricycles come with 3 wheels on one tricycle. But I can also think of the stoplight. And here's a fun way of when you're traveling, even in the car as you're going to grandmother's house, is count the number of stoplights. But don't just count the number of stoplights, count the number of lights on each stoplight. So this stoplight has 3 lights. So we can count 3. And then when we get to the next stoplight, we would count and say 6. The next stoplight we would have 9. And we could just keep counting the number of lights on the stoplight. But in math, there's a few tools that will also help us see the patterns of counting by 3s. So let's take a look at those. The hundreds chart, which is what this is here, is a great tool for counting by 3s. So if we had 1 stoplight or 1 tricycle, let's go with stoplights for now. If we had 1 stoplight, we would have 3 lights. At 2, when we hit the second stoplight, we would have 6. If your child is unable to count 3, 6 to start with, it's okay for them to count 3, 4, 5, 6 and continue to, that's how they will learn how to skip count by 3s. But then to color it in, 3 and then 6 is our next stoplight. And then when we get to the third stoplight, how many total lights are there? There's 9. So we want them to start continuing that pattern on this hundreds chart as we add stoplights or as we add tricycle wheels to start looking for patterns and noticing there's 2 numbers in between each of our counts. So the hundreds chart is one tool. Another tool which helps us in math that your child will see in school possibly even is knowing how to count on the number line. Just like there were 2 spaces in between each one, we would skip 2 spots on the number line as we skip counted by 3s. And again, don't be worried if at first your child can't say 3, 6, 9. Go ahead and let them count the lights to help them get ready for that. The other thing we can do is what we call a T-chart in school. 1 tricycle, or in this case, we go back to the stoplight. 1 stoplight had 3. 2 stoplights has a total of 6 lights. And we can continue the chart. So counting by 3s is an important skill because really this is the multiplication. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. So skip counting really does prepare them for counting on the number or for multiplication facts.